Nut Nerd Podcast, episode 265. Your cow is lonely.
Welcome to the Nut Nerd Podcast. I'm Nate Heath, and we're here to help you tech better. Here with me, as always, Mr. Dave Baylor.
Well, good day to you, sir. It's always a pleasure to meet with you and your fine mustache on this bright and sunny day.
Yes.
I know.
Yes.
I know all the rules for like online and for streaming and all that stuff. You shouldn't mention like weather or current events and blah 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 because of the longevity. I don't care. It's a sunny day, and I'm happy.
Yes. It rained like crazy last night here in the Pacific Northwest. So we are starting off the new year, 2021, with some significant rainfall. Lovely. Well, let us get into some follow-up. Before I do that, though, I want to let people know that next week, our next episode, episode 266, we are going to be celebrating 5 years of doing this podcast. 5 years, Dave. Can you believe that?
I can't believe that. I haven't stuck with anything more than a couple years, so that's pretty unparalleled as far as I'm concerned.
Yes, so we have some, hopefully some very cool things in the works for next week's episode. So make sure you're subscribed, you follow us everywhere, and keep your eye out for what we've got going on that. Now, back to our follow-up.
A regularly scheduled broadcast.
Yes, indeed. I was going through all the news, and there was not a whole lot of news this week, but one thing, as you can imagine, is there was a lot of end-of-year data coming out. But one thing I noticed was from Flurry.com, who I'm not familiar with. They gathered
Flurry, yes, of course.
Yes.
The household name.
Yeah, the household name and data collection. They gathered information on new smartphone activations for Christmas Day. So obviously a lot of people get smartphones for Christmas. People are trying to get them set up. And the interesting part was that it was down 23% year over year based on their data. So I don't know. Could be a lot of factors in that. And they're only looking at Christmas Day, I believe. So seems like you would kind of want to give it couple days before and after, especially this year with how odd things have been. But Dave, if you had to guess, which company would you say dominated the top 10 smartphone device activations on Christmas Day?
I'm going to say, well, China's pretty big, and there's lots of Christmas celebrated in China. So Xiaomi, I'm going to guess Xiaomi. Am I right on all those points?
No, you are not. This is U.S. only. I should have mentioned that.
No,
but
I know the answer. It's going to be Apple Computer. What interesting numbers. And I know you're going to say something like they had the top 8 out of 10 activations. Is that correct?
9 out of 10.
9 out of 10.
Close.
I have a theory as to why there were so many Apple devices activated in lieu of like Android devices like Samsung, LG, Xiaomi, which I don't think they sell in the US anymore. Is that what happens when dad gets a new smartphone for Christmas? Little brother or mom or sis gets dad's old iPhone and it trickles down the line. And so I think we're seeing numbers of activations of new devices and used devices. Like the metrics don't show any difference. They just say new activations on Apple devices. Is that correct?
Yeah. So it is pretty interesting because it's talking about how the percentage versus the 7-day trailing average. But all that to be said, this goes to prove your point. I believe it was just last week that you were saying all the data and analytics show that people are using iOS devices, and to take 9 out of the top 10. So the chart that they have on there, it's showing new device activations, and then it also shows percent change. So the iPhone SE was 34% above where it was the preceding 7-day average. So the iPhone 11 was the highest out of all. The iPhone XR, iPhone 12 Pro and Max, or no, just the Pro Max, the iPhone 12, the iPhone 11 Pro Max, and the iPhone SE, iPhone 12 Pro, iPhone 8 Plus, iPhone 8, and then last was the LG K30. That's the only other brand to make the list, which I am not familiar with that phone, but it's obviously a budget Android phone. So
yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, nobody's going out and buying a brand new iPhone 8. It's usually someone who formerly had like an Android device. They get an iPhone 8 from a friend or get it for Christmas or whatever, and then they activate it for the first time on their network. That's my theory. I mean, I don't know, but I can tell you this: nobody's looking to hand down a 2-year-old Samsung device to somebody else. They're like, I don't want that garbage. It doesn't have the latest operating system. It's falling apart or whatever. So I know we often sing the praises of Apple, but they make insanely great products. That's their stated goal, is to make insanely great products. And recently, of late, they certainly have done that. And more on that later.
yes, indeed. So this next story is directly related to that and your whole pass down method. A service we have talked about many times over the years. We've used it, Gazelle, which was the number one name in trading in your smartphones. They would just send you a box, you put it in, you send it in, and they cut you some money, and then they resell those devices. Well, I was shocked to see that on February 1st, they are going to be ending their trade-in program altogether. Now, reading through the article from The Verge, I was shocked less once I actually thought about it, with things like the Apple upgrade program and all of the carriers being very aggressive about taking in trade-ins, people handing them down. There's just not the market that there used to be for a service like that. So, even things like Facebook Marketplace, which make it much easier to sell a phone. If you take the time to do that, you're going to get a little bit more money than you do with somebody like Gazelle. But kind of sad to see them go. They had a long run, and I think they're still going to be doing some of their other services and selling phones and using their ATM-like devices where you can go to Walmart and drop your phone in and they'll give you money, but the whole send you a box and send in your phone thing's going away.
Yeah, we have one of those kiosks at our Walmart, and I have a really old iPad mini that's seen better days, and I don't feel comfortable selling it to somebody else, but I would certainly trade it in and get $20 from the Gazelle box. It's a different brand. It may be Gazelle's brand. I can't remember the name of it.
Yeah.
But, I will agree with one commenter in the Gazelle story on The Verge. $300 for an iPhone 11 Pro that cost $999 less than a year ago isn't a great deal. I had this experience. I could either trade in my old iPhone to Apple for $250. I paid over $900 for it 2 years ago. Or I could try to sell it online, and I ended up selling it for $100 more on Facebook Marketplace. And in a funny story, to a guy that my daughter works with. We didn't know. It was funny. Small world. Small world. But we've talked about the beauty of Facebook Marketplace in the past, is in that you might be able to sell to somebody who's a friend of a friend or somebody that you know. It's not some rando off of Craigslist that's trying to scam you, typically.
Yeah. Yep. So Gazelle,
we hardly knew you.
Your Eco ATM. Yeah, their parent company is Eco ATM. So that
was the one. That's the brand. Yeah.
Okay. So the Gazelle service is going away, and they'll be focusing on other things, as oft happens in the technology world.
Nothing lasts forever.
No, it does not. Next up, we've got another super huge company buying a podcast network. We've talked many times about Spotify and all these different services trying to buy these podcast networks, and Amazon is buying Wondery. Now, I don't listen to any Wondery podcasts, but they do have a lot of them. Some of them are Dirty John, Dr. Death, Business Wars, and The Shrink Next Door. They've been a very popular podcast network over the last couple of years. They haven't been around that long, but I think I saw that the valuation, the rumored valuation, puts them at about $300 million. So I think with them being purchased now, that probably puts our podcast network next on the list.
Yeah.
For value, I think.
Did you say 300 million for that one?
Yes.
Ours is probably, it's 26 million, something like that.
Yeah. So nowhere near that. But yeah, it's kind of one of those things where I am hesitant to be excited about all these deals happening. I think it's these big companies taking over podcasting, which, as we have long lamented, it has been kind of a free world, a open source platform for all the great podcasts that we listen to. But we'll see. It's the exclusive stuff, just like TV that we always talk about. If I have to go to 10 different apps to get to the podcasts that I want to listen to, that is not a great experience for me.
No. And Spotify is already learning the hard way that it's not as easy as it first appeared, with various other shows leaving and causing problems, and their censorship and all this stuff. So it's I like podcasts to be in the free and open market, available on any platform that you so choose. So hopefully that will win over these big conglomerates trying to take over.
Yes. And in a story that should be news to no one, and we've covered this several times, the streaming services are expected to end the year with 50% more U.S. subscribers. So Hulu, Disney Plus, all the video streaming providers had a very good 2020. And I did want to mention this one just because they are saying that now the average number of streaming subscriptions per U.S. household is 3.1, which I blow far past that average.
Yeah, you and I are wrecking the curve.
Yeah, if you just have Amazon Prime and Netflix, you're already at 2. So you add in Disney Plus, and you're right there at that average. So it's not surprising, but it has gone. In 2015, it was 1.6. So it has nearly doubled in the last 5 years, which again should not be a surprise to anyone with the number of services that are out there and how much good content there is as well.
Yeah, and the state of the world with the pandemic going on as well.
Yes.
People are at home ready to consume content.
Yes. Well, our last piece of follow-up, we've got a little crypto watch, and this is purely just as a reminder that you should never take any financial advice from us whatsoever, because Bitcoin has broken $34,000 per Bitcoin.
Now, it was just weeks ago that we had the story that it broke $20,000, and I was watching it because we talked about the Brave browser, and you can earn basic attention tokens, and then through their preferred wallet partner, you can convert to Bitcoin. So I've done that, and so I've been watching it, and it went to like 24, and then I didn't pay attention anymore, and now it's at $34,000 per Bitcoin. That is incredible.
Yes, and I am taking a live look in my Bitcoin app, and it is currently at $33,754.20. But looking at the 1 year range, the low was $3,900, and the high was almost $35,000. So if you would have bought at $4,000, and now it's over $30,000, but that's a risk you take with investments, and I did not think it would ever go this high. So
now I
apologize if you sold all your Bitcoin.
Now, I'm not a math Olympian like you are, or whatever it is. You run some type of drama math club or something, but but that's over double. I'm gonna say right here, that is over double.
Yes, 4,000 to 35,000 is over double.
Yeah.
That is technically the truth.
Yes. Well, before we pull apart any more math, we should probably move on to the next story.
Yes. Well, no math involved here. It's time for Dave's Pro Tip of the Week.
So, speaking of smartphones and new activations all over Christmas and the New Year, a large segment of those phones are the new iPhone 12, 12 mini, 12 Pro, 12 Pro Max, anything with a 12 on it. Those come built in. And let's cut to clip montage now.
Today, we're bringing 5G to iPhone. 5G, 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 5G.
5G, 5G, 5G.
iPhone 12 with 5G. 5G, 5G, 5G.
5G, 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 5G.
As you heard from the phone announcement, there's 5G in these devices now.
Yes.
Who would have thought
Yes.
there's 5G in there? But the good parts about 5G is increased data transfer and speeds.
Mm-hmm.
The bad part about 5G is the radios are far and few between, and they can really hammer your battery on your phone and other smart devices if it's constantly trying to connect to a 5G network that's really not there. So if you're experiencing diminished battery returns with your new phone that are worse than they should be, it's likely that you don't have good 5G coverage in your area. And I'm going to show you how to turn it off. So, as we do with most things, you go to our old friend, the settings icon on your iPhone 12, and then you navigate to cellular. It's up in the top section there. Mine's got a green icon. And second item down, there is cellular data options. And you can click that. And mine shows voice and data as the second option. And when you click there, you can show 5G as on, 5G in auto, or you can switch it over to LTE, which is the previous network, or 4G. 4G LTE. See, the industry likes to change up the terms to confuse people.
Yes.
But this could be a good tip for you. If you don't need 5G, you're happy with your speeds, and you want increased battery life, LTE is fine. There's nothing wrong with LTE.
Yeah.
We didn't really need 5G, but we have it. And for those who can take an advantage of it, I applaud you. But for most
Yes.
people who can't take advantage of it, you're probably better off just switching it off. So that's the tip.
Yeah, and there are the two types of 5G, which is more complicated because a lot of times my phone will show that I'm on 5G, but it's not the blazing hot fast one. It's maybe double what your LTE was, but again, what are you doing that LTE wasn't good enough? It's rarely going to be an occasion. So
are you downloading 4 gigabyte movies that you need downloaded in 10 seconds or something like that?
Yeah. I mean, there are use cases for it, but I would say for 95% of people, 95% of the time, you're going to be fine on LTE. So even though the battery life is amazing on these devices, if you're looking to stretch it a little further, that is a great tip. Oh, well, on to our takes of the week. I thought about, looking through the top stories of 2020, but, basically it was Zoom was everywhere. Quibi was bad.
Yeah.
Apple released some new stuff onto a new year. But our first story that I did want to talk about, and I had completely forgotten about this, is a little game that maybe changed the world, Farmville. Now, I believe it was back around 2009 that Farmville came out, so 11 years ago.
Wow.
And it, was playable through Facebook, and it was really just a game that anybody could play, a very casual game. You go in there, you build your farm, you can have your friends.
You harvest
so a lot
crops, do that type of
stuff. Yeah, very, typical, very common type of game, but that just really caught on. And the article from the New York Times, linked to in the show notes, the interesting part was just talking about how, Farmville, the game itself didn't really change the world, but as far as that addictive, that social aspect that we see in so many games and TikTok and all of this stuff now that they're kind of saying that maybe Farmville paved the way for a lot of that,
I
and
would
just
agree with
getting people on Facebook more and that kind of thing. I don't know that I ever played Farmville. I played 10 million games like it.
Yeah, there are tons of
But
clones.
Yes. And if you want to relive painful memories, one of the things they talk about is all of the Facebook notifications that you would get from Farmville, and oh, your cow's lonely, and oh, so and so visited your farm, and just game notifications on Facebook used to be a huge issue. Even Candy Crush, so and so wants a life, and Facebook realized that that was not a good experience and really got rid of a lot of that stuff, because it used to be you go on Facebook and every single notification is a game notification and nobody really cared. So yeah, it's Zynga, which has created many popular games, but Farmville is has been shut down.
Oh, so one game that was a lot like Farmville, and I see it in my download list on my iPad when I go into my previously purchased stuff, is We Rule. Are you familiar with this game at all? It is an
Yes.
isometric type iPad game, and what happened to them? It's like, how could you not make money off of that game? Because there's millions of people playing it. Same with Farmville. So my guess is with Farmville, and that it's being shut down, is that people just have other games to play. They're just not as interested in it anymore.
Yep. And it was I believe, a Flash-based game, which is also, it wasn't any longer Flash-based game, I don't believe, but just a reminder as well. I think I was reading that with the Adobe Flash, that later in January, Adobe is going to actively block it, but most major web browsers now have they're blocking it, so then it'll really become official when Adobe says no more on Adobe Flash, which, as we mentioned previously, is a good thing. Another interesting story. Now, Google Maps dominated the world. It was on every website, every device, everywhere you went, much like many Google services. It was just the king, and we have talked about how I use almost exclusively Apple Maps now. They have gotten so good, and there's other map services. And one of the problems with Google Maps is that a couple years ago, their API to be able to integrate their maps with your services, if you had an application or a website and wanted to integrate Google Maps, they started charging for that. Now, you had to get some traffic and have some pretty high usage. But with that price increase, this article is looking at how the title, Google Maps Moat is evaporating. So they kind of had this invincible fortress for a long time, and it's not quite that way anymore with Apple Maps on the devices. And then there's another one, I believe it's OpenStreetMaps, which is more of an open source platform, and that a lot of the big services, OpenStreetMap, because they've had huge investment from Facebook, Apple, Amazon, Microsoft, and Mapbox, which I'm not familiar with. The other ones, maybe you've heard of them.
Well, don't forget about other big players like Garmin and some of those other console navigation devices. They have lots of data that they sell to different people. Many of them partner with Apple. One of the comments in the thread on this article talked about how, you're underselling the traffic. The traffic data is so important in these map applications, and regarding Google. Well, Apple has that as well. When you try to go someplace, and if there's traffic, it'll route you off of the thing. So a lot of these other map applications have feature for feature parity, and so it's not as exclusive to use Google Maps again. I used to use it all the time and would use nothing else. And I think 2020 or maybe 2019 was the year that I hit that I hit Apple Maps really hard, and said, that's going to be my preferred mapping application.
Yeah, yeah. So it's another example of, everybody. I would have told you 2 years ago, nobody will ever touch Google Maps. It is the gold standard, and they've got a huge moat, like this article is talking about. But here we are. Nobody's safe, even Google, in their hugeness.
Maybe this means that Facebook can be taken down one of these days. Maybe.
Yes,
So
you
you're
can
saying,
only hope.
He's saying there's a chance.
Yes, yes. Well, I will start this next one off with I will remind people we are the most nonpartisan tech podcast on the internet. And I don't know if our listeners heard, but there has been some kerfuffle around a COVID spending bill in the United States of America that ended up being 5,000 plus pages long, I believe. And again, we could start a 100 episode podcast just talking about all the complexities there. But one of the odd things that got snuck in or was put into that bill would make illegal streaming a felony. Now, this isn't you downloading some torrent files or trying to get The Office because it's now on Peacock instead of Netflix, and don't get me started on that. But this is for people that, for profit, stream illegal content. So like if I set up a website and said, hey, pay me $10 a month and you can stream, all these TV shows.
Yeah.
That's who they're going after. Now, why it was put in now, put in here, I don't know, but it was in there. Tom Tillis, Republican senator, introduced the proposal less than 2 weeks ago that it aims to increase the penalty for operating a for-profit illegal streaming service. So, if I had to go out on a limb, the Hollywood was in Tom Tillis's ear and said, hey, we need to crack down on these people. And he said, I've got just the place we can get this in.
Well, more like his pocket, probably. One thing that
Yes.
frustrates me so much is that, and a reminder that the reason you don't have the $600 or $2,000 in your pocket right now from the stimulus is because these legislators keep trying to stuff all kinds of other crap in the stimulus bill. And one day when I attain a seat in Congress, if that ever happens,
Yes.
any
day now,
I am going to fight to make it illegal to put anything but one subject per bill. One thing. You can have 679-A-B-C, but they're all voted on separately, and you don't have to vote for this and this, because the way a lot of this garbage gets put in there and all these changes get affected is because, well, nobody's going to not vote for the stimulus bill, so I'm going to stick this garbage in there. But guess what? They're not voting for the stimulus bill because of this garbage. And so it's such a mess. American politics, it's embarrassing.
It is embarrassing. That is a nonpartisan statement of American politics. And this is not a new thing. I mean, this happens on every single bill. It's just that more of us are actually paying attention, and politics has been more politicized. Yes, and it's affecting us more directly than the typical stuff. So, well, our security and privacy story of the week. I thought it was something I hadn't thought about, a little different take. The title from NBC News is Insecure Wheels. Police turn to car data to destroy suspects' alibis. And the subheading, looser privacy standards for vehicle data are a treasure chest of data for law enforcement. So we talk a lot about our phones and protecting what's on our phones and how much a part of our lives are. But these newer cars sure do have a lot of data on us and have information. I had that mileage tracking device in mind so that, it would know. So like it's saying, alibis, if you say you're somewhere and they can easily get into your car's GPS data and find that you were somewhere else, it's a useful tool for them, but that does not necessarily mean that I like that they have access to that.
No, imagine you frequent a grocery store near a strip club, and you go to the grocery store to get some groceries, and then your wife calls and says, "Get home quick. The baby hurt its toe." And so you hop in your car and you leave. That exact same time, someone was murdered in the strip club. And they say,
Ooh.
your car was there and you sped out of that parking lot as fast as you could. And you're like, circumstantial. We don't care. We've got the data. So there are all kinds of weird things that can happen when you when authorities get this data from you. You can be
Yes.
you're guilty until proven innocent type of thing, which is opposite here in the US. It doesn't feel like that sometimes, but you're supposed to be innocent until proven guilty. And all this data that we have around us could certainly turn the tide on a lot of those scenarios.
Yes, yes. I will refer you to our last story in talking about politics and not having a lot of faith in them and doing things correctly. So, yeah, just something to be aware of. Now, do you need to cut all the services in your car?
No.
Probably not, because
No.
you're not doing a whole lot, but it is one more of these things that we've got to navigate and figure out what the correct use is and the correct permissions for the data that's out there.
Well, and if you are going to murder someone, make sure all that stuff's disabled. I mean,
Yes,
Obviously.
there you go.
obviously.
Borrow my Honda CRV, which has none of that built into it now that my automatic device no longer works. So, I mean, don't use my Honda CRV.
No, don't.
Our bonus odd take of the week, I saw this a while ago, and it's a very interesting concept. You can find it at Slow.sale. And what this is a Chrome extension that will make buying things more painful.
Okay, well,
So,
I didn't know where you're going on this. I thought this was going to make Chrome slower, and I'm like, it's slow enough. I don't need it to be any
yes.
slower, but it's the act of purchasing items is slower.
Yes, yes. So, we've talked before about user experience and how somebody like Amazon makes it so stinking easy to buy things, and, one click and you're checked out and your thing's going to show up the next day.
Remember they used to have those little
create-
buttons that you just push and it
Oh,
reorders your
yes.
toilet paper,
Yes,
whatever.
your dash button. I still have my dash wand. It's actually laying next to my desk. It no longer works. But this thing was, you could set it up and just like scan any barcode in your refrigerator, and it would just order it and send it on its way. Now, knowing me, I cannot bring myself to get rid of it. So there we go with that. But back to Slow.sale, you can install this, and then you tell it which websites you want to be slowed down. So it puts things in like re-entering passwords and re-entering your information, having to re-log in and do all this stuff. Now, I did not try it, but their idea, it's kind of tongue-in-cheek, but they want you to save more dough by slowing down your shopping process. Now, would this be a bad thing for me? No. Do I need to use this extension? I'm not sure, but it is one of those things that just kind of more to be mindful of, hey, you know what? Maybe I don't need to just buy something as soon as I see it. I can wait a second.
I have a pro tip for you, Nate. Go into your LastPass extension and go into the settings and say log out of all browsers when they close, and also set a time limit so that it logs you out of LastPass like every 15 minutes or something like that if you're not using it.
Yeah.
So then when you go to Amazon, you're like, oh, I have to log into LastPass and I have to click the thing. And of course, it's good for while you're using it or for 15 minutes, and then it logs out again. So you could set your own limits and timers. I have mine set to 60 minutes, and I got to tell you, for security reasons. And when I come back to my computer after a couple hours, I'm just like, I got to log into LastPass again because I have this really long password. And so there are other things you can do to kind of slow yourself down, make you think twice.
Yes. Yep, indeed. So this is a fun way to do it. So if anybody tries that out, let us know, and let us know how effective Slow.sale was at slowing down your online shopping habits. And you know what's always good for a habit? Our picks of the week.
Now, I wish I would have known about this Slow.sale yesterday or the day before yesterday, because it was easier than I could have imagined to purchase a brand new computer, Nate. In this show,
Yes.
if it sounds just a little bit better, if the camera looks a little bit sharper, it's because I have a brand new M1 MacBook Pro. Now, why do I have
Woohoo!
this thing? Well, thank you. Thank you. Well, I've not personally purchased a computer for 2013, 20. When did the new MacBook, the MacBook Nothing come out? Was that 2013,
yeah.
I think. 2013, I purchased that for myself to use, and it's gone away, and I have a computer at work, and then a friend of mine gave me a computer. I get free computers all the time. So I never felt
Yes.
like I needed to buy another computer since 2013. So it's been 7 years. I had a 3-year-old iMac, which was working just fine. The beautiful 5K Retina display. I love it. However, I was very titillated by the M1 processor in this new MacBook because it allows you to install iOS uh, applications. It's super fast as far as exporting Final Cut Pro projects, Logic projects, which I use often. And so I'm like, you know what? I can get this. I can hook it to a monitor. I can get a keyboard and mouse, and I've got my pseudo iMac, but it's way faster. And I got to be honest, the new MacBook Pro and MacBook Air, the prices are very reasonable. Now, I
Yeah.
spent a little extra money and upgraded the RAM and the hard drive. Um, so it came in over what I got from the sale of my iMac, but I was willing to spend a few $100s extra to get this machine that's hopefully going to last me for a number of years. Now, I know Apple will come out with a better device next March or something like that, and I'll be kicking myself. But hey, I'll just pass it on down the line, maybe an upgrade. Who knows? But um, that is my pick of the week, this MacBook Pro or MacBook Air. If you're looking for a new Apple portable device, there has not been a better time in probably 10 years to buy a new Mac portable. And for those of you on desktop computers, there's also the Mac Mini that's available with the M1
Yeah.
chip.
Yeah. So, Dave, I'm intrigued. I have not used one of the M1 Max yet. You've had yours for what, 24 hours now?
Yep, I got it yesterday morning.
What's your yes? What's your initial impressions? How does it feel compared? Like, what do you like? What have you noticed so far?
Well, it seems the fit and finish seems almost identical to the previous generation. The keyboard is better. I love that the direction keys are they have a space above the left and right. For years on
Yeah.
Apple's Bluetooth keyboard and their laptop keyboards, they were like this weird bifurcated button system with, I don't know. It was terrible. So they fixed that. The trackpad is big and large. Now, this is nothing new to you because you have the 2016, I'm
Yes.
sorry, the 16-inch 2020 MacBook Pro. I love that the escape key is not part of the touch bar.
Touch bar. Yeah.
So and the display, it feels like the displays have really gotten much better since 2013. When I had the laptop then, it's crisp and clear and rivals the 5K iMac display that I got rid of. But as far as everything else, I can't really speak to the battery because I had my iPad plugged in as a second monitor for a long time last night, and it was sucking the juice out of the computer.
Gotcha.
And it was newly set up. And so all the indexing and all those things that happen in the first 24, 48 hours was going on. And so I don't have any really good real world tests. I can tell you that we have been doing the show for about an hour, and I've been off power. I'm recording on QuickTime. We're recording on Zoom. We're running a Zencaster. I've got Brave browser open, notes, preview is open. I don't know why. I've got a game that's in the background playing. I'm at 97%. I'm at 97% power, which is pretty good. 3% per hour,
Yeah.
doing a lot of stuff.
Jeez.
That's
That
really
is
good.
crazy.
And I've got the screen
Yeah,
on bright and everything. So
Wow. The battery life. I'm excited to hear your real world usage on that as you get into it more.
I just think the tales are true. The battery's life is great, and the processor is tremendously fast and efficient. And you can probably guess what I spent most of my time yesterday evening doing. It was going through my iOS library and downloading games that I never play on my iPad to see if they'll work on my computer, because maybe I'll play them on my laptop. You think I will?
Yes. Yeah.
Probably not.
Yeah. Probably not. Well, I'm very excited for you, and that's going to be an awesome machine and help with podcast editing.
Yeah, totally.
So there we go. Well, my pick of the week this week, I look back and I don't think we've ever talked about it on the podcast, which I'm not sure. I know I played this game for a long time, and then I found out that my nephews, both of which are under 10 years old, were playing this game, and I was like, I remember that. I'm better than they are. I'm going to go try this game again. So I downloaded it, and it is called The Battle Cats. Now it's kind of just a very simple two-dimensional tower defense game where you've got two towers and you send the enemy is sending their little different animals towards yours, and you're sending yours towards them, and you power everything up, and it really is just a dumb game, but they've put a lot of kind of little funny stuff in the storyline, or they'll say different things, or some of the characters are really odd. It's a free game. Of course, you can spend whatever you want to upgrade and buy cat food to do various things. But they've really, I don't know when I played this. It was quite a while ago, so they've added in a bunch of new different gameplay styles and stuff. I don't think you can do person to person, so you can't, I couldn't battle you, Dave, but if you just need a time waster and something to get your mind off the world for a while, pick up Battle Cats. Download it for free. The one pro tip I will give you on gameplay is don't waste your cat food. They'll try to prompt you, you can use your cat food to speed up your gameplay on this level. No, save it for when you need it. Some of those levels are really hard, and don't buy every cat with your cat food.
But this one's fluffy.
Yes, exactly. But it is a fun little game, and I seem to think I'm pretty good at it, but it's pretty mindless, but a fun game. Now, Dave, you did show me on your phone that you have downloaded it in the past, and maybe you told me about it originally. I'm not sure, but do you have any memories of the game?
Well, no, I actually had a follow-up question. Is this a tower defense game, or is it a brawler type game? Because I'm looking through the images.
So you don't actually, all you do is basically send out your different cats when you have enough money to release them in battle.
Oh, and
I know this sounds insane.
They fight each other.
Yeah, so most tower defense games, you think there's kind of a maze and you build guns to defeat the enemy. Well, this is a direct battle type of defense game. You have to defend your base while destroying the other base. So
it's like an RPG. You equip your players, and then you send them out and they battle the bad guys, and if they're equipped appropriately, they win. If they're not, you get defeated and you got to start over again. Okay. Well, I'm going to re-download it and give it a try. No, you know what? I'm going to put it on my laptop and I'm going to try it there.
Yeah. There, please do. Well, I am happy to admit that we are back onto our Ramazon purchase of the week. I was holding off and have now, hopefully everybody has exchanged their gifts by this point. I know I have, so that's the person I was really worried about.
Yeah, you've got to be surprised.
Yes, but I was very excited to go through the anonymous reports, since we're Amazon affiliates, and see that you guys were very active over the holidays shopping on Amazon. I can see some of our previous picks. Hopefully those came through our new pick store on the website. You were going through and said, oh yeah, I remember that. I want to buy one of those. But yeah, ton of people were making purchases, and so this week the thing I chose is the Sony ZSR S60BT CD boombox with Bluetooth and NFC.
What? Tell me more. What? Why does this thing exist?
I know. At first I just saw a CD boombox and I was like, okay, which one of our listeners is buying his CD boombox? But then I saw that it has Bluetooth and NFC, so that you can do. So it's kind of like a smart speaker. Only you can also play CDs, and it's got and the Sony Classic. Oh, do I have fond memories of this term? Don't worry, it's got mega bass. That was the biggest thing with the Sony Walkmans and everything back in the day, is you could turn on mega bass.
As long as it's got the mega bass button that you push. And I actually have a Sony like shelf top cassette player thing up there. It's older. It's got an MD setting for the input. You know what MD is? Mini disc, Sony mini discs.
Oh,
but it has a DSG button. It's equivalent to mega bass on there.
Nice. Nice. Yeah, and so it does have FM AM radio. I think we usually say AM FM radio.
Yeah.
With 30 memory presets, and it says up to 26 hours battery life. Now, it does take the old C-cell batteries.
Oh boy, that's
Yes.
quite the looker there. C-cell.
And it does have a nice handle. I should send you a picture of the handle too, because that's an important factor.
It looks big. I can tell from the lines on there. Looks pretty big.
Yes, it is a massive, massive handle. So,
wow.
Somebody purchased a Sony CD boombox, which we might take issue with, but the fact that it has Bluetooth and NFC, that ups the game a little bit, so that you could, hopefully connect your phone. I don't see anywhere that it has, necessarily has AirPlay or anything like that, but the fact that you could put some batteries in there and be on the go.
Yeah, it's the best of both worlds. If you have a vast CD collection, which is digital audio and sounds fantastic, you can play it on this device. If you have a smartphone with Spotify, Apple Music, whatever else there is, you can send it to this device to listen to it on the speakers there. There's looks like an audio input. There's a USB port. So if you put a bunch of MP3s on your thumb drive, you can play it. I mean, throw everything else out. This is all you need. You don't need anything else.
Yeah.
So it seems like a great device, and you can't go wrong with Sony. When I was growing up, Sony was the Apple. Like everything I owned was Sony. The Sony Walkman, boombox, headphones, everything Sony, because they just are great. They make great products. So you're probably going to ask me, what would I pay for this boombox?
Yes, and before I do that, I will let you know it's got 4 stars on 1,428 ratings. So, Dave, what would you pay?
Well, the only bad thing I can find with it is that it does not have a lithium-ion built-in battery. It's got the 4 C cells or whatever. But, I mean, it's got an AC port. I'm sure that you can just plug in power.
Yes, you can do that.
Ah, man, this thing. I think this thing's going to come in at $79, and I don't know. I don't know if I'm high or low.
You're not too far off. $98 is the current price, and it looks like it has jumped down over time. Looking at Camel real quick, kind of between $75 and $100 is the price range on that. So not too far off. You're a little rusty on our Amazon purchase. Maybe that helps. Maybe taking some time off helped you reset a little bit, but you were in the right ballpark.
It's been so long, but that's a completely fair price. I didn't want to go over 100. I thought 100 would be a little too high, even though it is a Sony and not some knockoff brand. But I'd pay $75, $100 for this thing any day.
Yeah. Yes, indeed. Well, thank you everyone again for doing your shopping through our Amazon links. It helps us out. And I do want to remind people, as I mentioned at the top of the show, that we do have some things in store for our 5-year anniversary next week. So
I'm excited to hear what they are.
On the podcast. Me saying them on the podcast means we'll actually have to get it all figured out and do something special instead of just having a normal episode, but we figured we should celebrate that and all the growth we've had and all the listeners and all of the people that are listening and learning about technology, so that you can get out there and tech better.
I'm looking forward to it. I always want to tech better. Good. Well, now there's 100 things to turn off.
Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna stop Zencaster.